Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take the articles, research, and notes you send us and turn them into, well, something you can actually use. Today, we are cracking open a big one: the architecture of attachment. Our mission here is to get way past the basic definitions and really look at the machinery of our relationships. So you can walk away understanding why some fights feel impossible to escape, and more importantly, how you can start building a stronger foundation for yourself.
And just to frame this for everyone, since many of you are already familiar with the basics, we should, give a nod to the origins. It all started with British psychiatrist John Bowlby, who gave us this core idea of internal working models.
Right, the subconscious rules we learn as infants from our caregivers.
Exactly. And then, of course, Mary Ainsworth came along with her strange situation experiments.
That's where she actually identified those distinct patterns in babies.
Yeah, and researchers like Hazan and Shaver later took those infant patterns and mapped them almost perfectly onto adult romantic relationships.
That's the history. But let's pivot to the modern view, because I think it's a lot more useful for you today. We're not talking about putting people in boxes.
No, it's much more of a spectrum, and it all starts with those internal models.
Okay, let's unpack that.
So that internal working model is really the invisible engine driving your relationships as an adult. It's basically answering two fundamental questions.
What are they?
The first is the self model, which asks, am I worthy of love and support?
Okay.
And the second is the other model. Are other people, available and responsive when I need them?
Hmm.
If your answers are generally yes, you tend to approach relationships with a sense of security. If they're no,
Then you develop strategies.
right, you either frantically pursue connection because you don't trust it will be there,
Yep.
or you defensively pull away to protect yourself. And that shapes everything.
And the modern research makes this so much cleaner by boiling it all down to two critical axes or dimensions. First, you've got attachment anxiety. That's a fear of rejection, right? The fear of abandonment.
Yes, someone high in anxiety is constantly scanning for threats. They're hypervigilant.
Then the second axis is attachment avoidance. This is more of a discomfort with real closeness, with being vulnerable or depending on someone.
They value self-reliance above all else. It's a defense mechanism.
So you can sort of plot yourself on those two lines.
Exactly. And when you do, the four styles just emerge from that. Secure is low on both anxiety and avoidance.
Makes sense.
Anxious is high anxiety, low avoidance. Avoidant is the opposite, high avoidance, low anxiety.
And what about the fourth one? Disorganized.
That's high on both, which is a really tough place to be. You're terrified of distance, but you're also terrified of closeness.
You feel trapped. That's a powerful way to put it. But you said something crucial earlier, that these aren't fixed personality traits.
Not at all.
So how do they change? Do you need years of therapy, or can being with the right person be enough to shift that internal model?
That is probably the most hopeful part of all this research. Change is absolutely possible. We call it earned security.
Earned security. I like that.
And to your question, yes, a long-term relationship with a secure partner can be profoundly corrective. It doesn't always require intensive therapy, though for disorganized patterns, it often does.
Why does that work so well?
Because a secure partner consistently breaks the rules of your negative model. If your script says, they will eventually leave me, but they keep showing up reliably,
Your brain has to update the script.
it has to. You're accumulating all these new corrective experiences that build a new model.
Okay, that framing is so important. These are strategies, not life sentences. So let's get into the specifics of the four styles, what they actually look like day to day. Let's start with the gold standard: secure attachment.
Or autonomous in
Right.
adults, yeah. These are the people who are just comfortable with both intimacy and independence. They're the emotional anchors.
They see themselves as worthy of love, and they expect their partner to be responsive.
Right. And when there's conflict, they can state their needs clearly without it becoming a huge drama. Their origin story is usually pretty straightforward. Caregivers who were consistently sensitive and attuned.
Okay, so then we have the anxious style, or preoccupied.
With this style, the attachment system hyperactivates.
What does that mean?
Think of it like a smoke detector that's way too sensitive. A delayed text message can feel like a four-alarm fire. They pursue closeness, they seek a lot of reassurance.
And they're always watching for signs of rejection.
Constantly. It's driven by that early, inconsistent caregiving. Maybe a parent was warm one minute and cold the next.
So the child learns that connection is unpredictable.
And that they have to fight for it. They have to protest loudly just to be seen.
Which is the total opposite of the next style, right? The avoidant or dismissive adult.
The total opposite. Their strategy isn't hyperactivation, It's deactivation.
So if the anxious style is a fire alarm, this is cutting the wires.
That's a perfect analogy. They cut the wires and pretend the house isn't on fire. They value self-reliance as a shield. They minimize emotions, their own, and often their partners, too.
Right, they're the ones who might say, you're overreacting, when their partner is upset.
Exactly. Not always out of malice, but because that level of emotional intensity genuinely feels threatening and overwhelming to them.
And that leaves the last one. Disorganized or fearful avoidant?
And this is the most complex. It's a mix of both strategies. They deeply want intimacy, but it also terrifies them.
So they oscillate.
They do. They'll pull someone close with anxiety, then push them away with avoidance. Their responses can seem chaotic, even contradictory.
And the origin for that.
It's often a background where the caregiver was a source of both comfort and fear. Maybe they were abusive or unpredictable or traumatized themselves. The lesson the child learns is that the person they need for safety is also unsafe.
So once a relationship gets serious and that honeymoon phase ends, these different strategies start to collide. This is where it gets real for you, the listener.
Oh, absolutely. Especially in communication under stress.
How does that show up?
Well, the secure partner will name their feeling and ask for something specific. I'm feeling disconnected. Can we spend some time together tonight?
Very direct.
The anxious partner, in that hyperactivated state, might communicate through demands or emotional flooding. The intensity feels necessary to them to show how important it is.
And the avoidant partner?
They deactivate. They might switch from emotion to pure logic. They'll say, let's schedule a time to discuss this rationally, when what their partner needs is just a hug.
And in a real conflict, that just creates these painful, predictable dances.
It does. The anxious person escalates, trying to get a reaction, any reaction, to prove the connection is still there.
Which, of course, is the very thing that makes the avoidant partner feel flooded and want to escape.
So they withdraw, they shut down, or literally leave the room.
What I find fascinating is that the research points out that these are, in a way, survival strategies. They worked once.
They absolutely did. The anxious strategy is about making sure you're not forgotten. Better to get negative attention than no attention at all.
And the avoidant one.
That's about minimizing risk.
Yeah.
If you only rely on yourself, you can't be catastrophically let down. They work to survive the childhood environment.
But they fail to thrive in an adult relationship.
Especially in that classic pairing you see so often. The anxious avoidant couple.
Why is that particular combination so toxic? It just seems to lock people in.
Because they are each other's worst nightmare, and they perfectly trigger one another. The anxious person pursues to get closer.
Which is the avoidant person's alarm bell. So they withdraw to feel safe.
And that withdrawal confirms the anxious person's deepest fear, abandonment. So what do?
They pursue harder.
And the cycle just gets worse. The deep, kind of insidious insight here is that this cycle runs on intermittent reinforcement.
Like a slot machine.
It's exactly like a slot machine. The anxious partner only gets a tiny bit of closeness when they push and push until the avoidant partner briefly gives in. That tiny reward trains them to keep pushing.
And the avoidant partner only feels relief when they successfully create distance, so they're trained to keep withdrawing.
Both people are being rewarded for the very behaviors that make them miserable. It's genuinely addictive.
That explains so much. And then you add real-life stress on top of that. A job loss, a sick parent.
And the strategies just get more extreme. The anxious person sees catastrophe everywhere, and the avoidant partner suppresses their distress so much that it's impossible for anyone to actually support them.
Okay, so this whole deep dive is about what to do with this knowledge. If these styles aren't destiny, then the first step has to be just ruthless self-awareness.
Yes. You have to be able to spot your own protest behaviors in the moment. The jealousy tests, the strategic silent treatment, the ghosting, and decide to interrupt it.
Because that awareness lets you create sort of a customized plan for managing conflict.
You can't just tell an avoidant partner to be more vulnerable on command.
Or tell an anxious partner to just calm down.
Right. For an avoidant partner, security comes from planned, regulated space. Not just stonewalling, but saying, I am overwhelmed. I need 20 minutes, and I promise we will talk about this at 7 p.m.
So it's about structure and predictability.
And concrete problem definitions, not a vague swamp of feelings.
And for the anxious partner, then, what's the key?
De-escalating that hyperactivation. A really powerful tool is simple emotion labeling. The second you feel that alarm go off, you just name it. I'm feeling a wave of anxiety right now.
What's that do?
It shifts the activity from your reactive, primal brain to your thinking brain. It gives you a split second of space between feeling and reacting. And that has to be paired with their partner offering scheduled, reliable reassurance.
So the pursuit becomes unnecessary.
Exactly. And for the disorganized partner, where trust is the biggest issue, it's all about creating clear safety cues.
Which might mean more explicit boundaries.
Yes. And learning somatic grounding techniques. When you feel overwhelmed, just feeling your feet on the floor, focusing on your breath, it pulls you out of the past trauma and into the present moment.
So beyond the in-the-moment tactics, the really deep work is about changing those stories we tell ourselves.
Revising the working models. The anxious person has to challenge the belief that I have to scream to be heard.
And the avoidant person has to dismantle the belief that needing someone is a weakness.
You have to consciously replace those old absolute rules with something more nuanced. Something like, connection requires vulnerability and I am capable of both.
And sometimes that requires professional help.
Often it does. And specific therapies are designed for this. Emotionally focused therapy, or EFT, is built to heal these bonding injuries. It helps couples stop the pursuit with drawdowns.
And what about for the more trauma-based patterns?
For disorganized styles, something like EMDR can be incredibly effective. It helps the brain reprocess traumatic memories so they no longer feel like a present-day threat. These tools are really about updating the source code of your internal model.
So to pull this all together, Bowlby and Ainsworth gave us the map, and all the research since has shown us how the terrain works. Knowing your style is the first crucial step. But using that knowledge to hold yourself accountable, to communicate differently, to literally rewrite your internal narrative, that is how you cultivate real security. It equips you to not just choose a partner more wisely, but to actively build the kind of relationship you want, no matter where you started.
And just one final thought to leave you with. While this path to earn security is well documented, it never happens in a vacuum. Remember that your culture, your family, your community, they all have norms about closeness and independence.
That's a great point.
So the question to mull over is this: how are the unspoken rules of your environment making it easier, or maybe harder, for you to express your needs for connection and for autonomy?
That adds a whole other layer to this. A fantastic framework. Thank you for sharing your sources with us for this deep dive. We can't wait to see what you send us next.